If you're looking for a comprehensive video on sleep training that goes through all the background and all the major techniques in a step-by-step fashion, you found the right video. Look, Mom, no paywall. I'm Dr. Sujay Konsagra. I'm a child neurologist and a sleep medicine physician at Duke University. I take care of children with sleep disorders for a living. I've made this video in hopes of helping you navigate the challenges of sleep training for infants. The video has 4 parts. The first is an overview, followed by the 3 techniques that I typically go to that have safety and efficacy data to support their use. And if you like what you hear, hit subscribe or follow me on any social media platform. I'm that sleep doc. Hope you find it helpful. Let's dive in. In this video, let's talk a bit about the background. What is sleep training and why would you think about doing it? And at what age should you think about sleep training? Now, sleep training can be defined in many ways because it's not a medical term, but for me, I consider it the behavioral strategies that we use to help teach a child how to self-soothe and get them to sleep better through the night. Now, why would you sleep train? It's typically because a child fits a pattern that's consistent with what we call behavioral insomnia of childhood, sleep onset association subtype. Now, that's really long. Let's talk about what that means. A sleep onset association is anything in your environment that you're using to help you fall asleep in the beginning of the night that you then need every time you wake up during a normal nighttime awakening. Because remember, nighttime awakenings are a totally normal part of sleep. Infants, adults, everybody wakes up at night. So for example, if an infant has to be rocked to sleep every night, chances are when they wake up during a normal awakening, they're going to require that same rocking to be put back in place to help them fall back asleep. When can you start sleep training? Well, the earliest is typically around 4 months of age, but ideally around 5 to 6 months in an otherwise healthy infant that was born on time. And you would use it if your baby's sleeping pattern fits a behavioral insomnia of childhood with sleep onset association subtype. And what does that mean? Well, you're helping your child fall asleep at night. Your child has multiple awakenings at nighttime requiring you to intervene again. They can fall back asleep quickly when you intervene. And they have a good chunk of sleep in between these episodes because they're going through another full sleep cycle. And remember that sleep training is an option if you consider this pattern a problem. If it's not a problem for you, there's no need to fix it. You get to define whether it's a problem for you. No, you don't have to sleep train. Nobody should tell you you have to sleep train, but it's a safe and effective option. All right, stay tuned and we'll go through all the techniques together. All right, it's time to give you the step-by-step instructions on my go-to sleep training technique. There are 4 that have data to support them. We're going to be talking about graduate extinction. I like camping out too for certain children, but again, my go-to is typically graduate extinction. I'm going to give you step-by-step instructions to walk you through the entire process of sleep training using graduate extinction. I'm going to have some summary slides near the end you can take screenshots of, so don't worry about writing everything down. For every sleep training approach, you're going to hear me harp on these criteria that ensure your child is in the right setup for success when it comes to sleep training. What age should your child be? Well, 4 months at the very earliest, but ideally closer to 5 or 6 months of age. As far as medical history, your child should be otherwise healthy and not born prematurely. If you have any questions, talk to your pediatrician. By 6 months of age, your child should be down to 2 to 3 naps, and there should be roughly a 3-hour wake window from the end of the last nap to bedtime. And as with every human being, we're going to try to have a routine in place prior to bed. Here we go, step-by-step instructions. Please know there are lots of different names for graduate extinction. Also goes by Ferber technique, or controlled crying, or controlled comforting. It's all the same stuff. At step 1, you're going to figure out what time your child is currently falling asleep each night on average. That is going to be set as the new bedtime. Why is that? Well, we want to line up the time we're actually attempting to put our child in the crib when they're naturally feeling sleepy. And we want to minimize the length that our babies have to cry in order to fall asleep at nighttime. So putting them in too early might mean a longer stretch of crying. And as we just discussed, ideally that's about 3 hours from the time of their last nap. Step 2, you're going to go through your routine, 20-30 minutes, calm, relaxing, fun activities. And during this routine, you are going to get in all of that love, all the hugs, all the kisses, all the snuggles that you want with your baby. We're not here to take that away when we sleep train. That's not how we roll. Step 3, we're going to place our child into the crib while they're still awake after the routine. They must be awake at the end of the routine when they're going in their crib. Step 4, you are now going to distance yourself from the crib for a specified period of time. That can mean either leaving the room, or you can just sit in the room with your child, but just sit slightly away from the crib. This is known as graduate extinction with parental presence. Nobody ever said you have to leave your baby when you sleep train. If you do end up leaving the room, make sure you have a really good monitor where you can watch and listen to your baby. Step 5, and this is the hard part. If your child starts crying, which they likely will during sleep training, you're going to wait a pre-specified period of time before you go in there and soothe them. How long are you going to wait? Well, that timing is arbitrary, but I'd recommend 5 minutes for that first check. Then when you go soothe them for 1 minute max without taking them out of the crib, and then wait your next pre-specified period of time, which could be 10 minutes. Then after that, could be every 15 minutes. And in between checks, you're going to go soothe them for 1 minute max. I don't recommend waiting longer than 15 minutes to soothe. Here are 5 different methods regarding different check-in times you can use. It's really up to you. You can see it's kind of arbitrary. Take a screenshot. Second night of sleep training, you can decide to use the exact same time intervals, or you can start that first interval a little bit longer than you did the night before. It's up to you. If your child wakes up at night, we're going to make sure they're not hungry. If they're hungry, we're going to feed them. We don't sleep train through hunger. If your child is uncomfortable from a dirty diaper, you're going to change that diaper. We're not going to sleep train through discomfort. But if you feed and you change your child, remember that when you put them back in the crib, they should still be awake when you put them back in the crib, and then start your sleep training method again. Remember, consistency and persistence is your friend when it comes to sleep training. The first night, it could take an hour or two. Night 2 and 3 are oftentimes even worse than night 1. But typically, by night 4 and 5, you start seeing a change. And by the end of the week, hopefully your child is sleeping very well. And because you sleep train, they're able to self-soothe and get themselves back to sleep when they have those normal nighttime awakenings. So it might look like they've slept through the night. What they've actually done is woken up multiple times and put themselves back to sleep because you've taught them the skill of self-soothing. Congratulations. All right, here's a summary slide with all the steps. Feel free to take a screenshot. All right, sleep training technique number 2, camping out technique. Let's go through it step by step. We already talked about graduate extinction, which is my go-to method, but camping out is a close second. As you see on this gradient here, more upfront nighttime crying each night, faster response. With camping out, we have less nightly crying, but a slower response. There's usually a trade-off. The goal for all these methods is to help a child learn how to become a self-soother, fall asleep on their own and independently. That's the overriding goal. Camping out is a term that we use in sleep medicine world, but it has lots of other names. For example, the chair method, the sleep lady shuffle. In my opinion, it's all the same stuff, just different names. The good thing about camping out is that you can use it for older infants, but you can also use it into the toddler year. Every sleep training approach, you're gonna hear me harp on these criteria that ensure your child is in the right setup for success when it comes to sleep training. What age should your child be? Well, 4 months at the very earliest, but ideally closer to 5 or 6 months of age. As far as medical history, your child should be otherwise healthy and not born prematurely. If you have any questions, talk to your pediatrician. By 6 months of age, your child should be down to 2 to 3 naps, and there should be roughly a 3-hour wake window from the end of the last nap to bedtime. And as with every human being, we're going to try to have a routine in place prior to bed. Step 1, you're going to figure out what time your child is currently falling asleep each night on average. That is going to be set as the new bedtime. Step 2, you're going to go through your routine, 20-30 minutes, calm, relaxing, fun activity. Step 3, you're going to place your infant into the crib while they're still awake, and then you're going to sit next to the crib until they fall asleep. If your child is in a toddler bed, you're going to sit next to the toddler bed. Now, you can do this for 1 or 2 nights. You can do this for a week. It all depends on how quickly your child learns to fall asleep with you in that position. Step 4, after the child has become accustomed to falling asleep quickly with you right next to the bed, you're going to move a few feet away, about 3 feet away, and you're going to sit there when it's time to fall asleep each night. Step 5, once your child has gotten accustomed to this, you're going to move your chair even further away, maybe close to the door. Step 6, eventually your child is going to be accustomed to falling asleep relatively independently. You're going to have your chair outside the room, just outside the door. You can still talk to them and soothe them if you need, but they're not going to be able to see you. If your child wakes up in the middle of the night, if they're hungry, you're going to feed them. We're not going to sleep train through hunger. That's not fair. And then you have a choice. You can do exactly the same thing you did in the beginning of the night, sit in the same position you sat in, or you can go ahead and soothe them to sleep. That's fine too. But the key is helping them fall asleep independently at the very beginning of the night. Now, with each step further away from the crib or the bed, your child may fuss or cry for a short period of time. That's expected. But the goal of all these techniques is the same, learning independent, confident sleep. All right, here's a step-by-step summary slide. Feel free to take a screenshot. All right, let's talk about the extinction method of sleep training, which is by far my third choice when it comes to sleep training. First choice is graduate extinction. Second choice is camping out. A distant third is extinction. Now, the other name for the extinction method is the cry it out method, and everybody equates sleep training to cry it out. No, cry it out is only this method, extinction method. There are 3 other choices for sleep training, so all of sleep training is not cry it out. Truth be told, cry it out or extinction has really kind of fallen out of favor amongst parents and amongst sleep physicians over time. We just don't like using it. It's kind of endless crying without any soothing. Nobody feels great about that. Why am I sharing details about it? Well, it does have data to support safety and efficacy, so I'm going to share it with you. I'm going to give you the choices. You have to decide which choice is best for your family. When would you consider using it? Well, if you're using graduate extinction and your child gets more fussy and irritable every time you go to soothe them, you might consider switching to the extinction method. You would also consider extinction if you are in crisis mode as a family. Your child is just not sleeping well, everything is kind of falling apart. In that situation, you would also consider extinction. Every sleep training approach, you're going to hear me harp on these criteria that ensure your child is in the right setup for success when it comes to sleep training. What age should your child be? Well, 4 months at the very earliest, but ideally closer to 5 or 6 months of age. As far as medical history, your child should be otherwise healthy and not born prematurely. If you have any questions, talk to your pediatrician. By 6 months of age, your child should be down to 2 to 3 naps, and there should be roughly a 3-hour wake window from the end of the last nap to bedtime. And as with every human being, we're going to try to have a routine in place prior to bed. Step 1, you're going to figure out what time your child is currently falling asleep each night on average. That is going to be set as a new bedtime. Step 2, you're going to go through your routine, 20-30 minutes, calm, relaxing, fun activity. Step 3, you're going to put the child in the crib while they're still awake. Step 4, you're going to leave the crib. You're going to either go outside of the room, or you can actually stay in the room, which is what I prefer. It's called Extinction with parental presence. Go sit in the corner and wait, and wait, and wait, and wait until your child finally falls asleep. Of course, if your child is hungry, you're going to feed them. If they're uncomfortable because of a dirty diaper, you're going to attend to that. We're not going to sleep train through hunger or sleep train through physical discomfort. But this is the hard part about extinction method or cry out method. The waiting is endless. You just kind of wait and wait until your child finally falls asleep, which can be difficult. If you do choose to leave the room for the extinction method, I strongly recommend you have a really good monitor where you can keep an eye on your child and make sure you can hear them. If your child wakes up in the middle of the night, if they're hungry, you're going to feed them, but keep them awake through that feed and put them back in the crib while they're still awake. If they have a dirty diaper or they're uncomfortable, you're going to change their diaper, of course, but then you go right back to the extinction method after both those things are taken care of. All right, hope that helps. But again, hope you'll strongly consider graduate extinction or camping out as viable alternatives to the extinction method. And as always, here's a step-by-step screenshot you can take. Hope it helps. Good luck.